We will catch up with Kurt Helin coming up in 10 minutes. Pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com. He joins us every Wednesday on the show. We talk NBA with him. We will do that again today, both Eastern and Western Conference. We will divide the time equally to talk about the East and the West. Impressive win for the Cavaliers last night against the Knicks at home. James Harden assimilating beautifully within that team right now. Kenny Atkinson very high on sort of where the Cavs are as we head down the stretch run of the NBA regular season. Out in the West, the Spurs doing great things. And what a weird way that Lakers game ended last night with the Orlando Magic. We'll also talk about that coming up in just a couple of moments here with the big story. MLB ABS, we'll get to that in just a couple of moments here in the big story. We'll talk about it later with Sam Yarnell. A couple of quarterbacks I want to focus in on today on the show. NFL Combine going on, which means general managers, head coaches, all talking out in Indianapolis. And some very interesting things being said about a couple of guys that were starters this past season, and we're sort of looking at where they stand within their organizations. C.J. Stroud, Tua Tagovailoa, we'll get to those coming up a little later on. Politics and sports mixing last night at the State of the Union address. We'll talk about that a little bit, and not the way you necessarily think we will. So don't worry, don't get your knickers in a twist. We'll be talking about it in a very, I think, effective way. That's coming up a little later on in the show as well. But we start things out as we always do on this Wednesday. It's time for the big story. And the big story is ABS in Major League Baseball, because we're already getting a real sense for how this is going to be used around Major League Baseball in 2026. And I have said from the start, catchers, hitters, they know where the strike zone is as well as anybody. There's going to be a lot of these. I know they say there's just 2 per team. If you get it right, you get to keep it. But yesterday was the perfect example in this Pirates-Red Sox game in Fort Myers, where you had 6 challenges, or 7 challenges, and 6 of them wind up being correct. And I'm not talking about it from the perspective of it extending games and making games too long. I think the perspective that I want to talk about it from is what this could mean for balls and strikes being called by home plate umpires well into the future. I don't think we're going to see it for much longer. And by much longer, I think within the next 5 years, there's a real possibility as the technology gets faster and the ability to call balls and strikes quicker with this ABS system and the effectiveness of it and tweaking it and fine-tuning it and getting it into a spot where everybody's more comfortable with it. The home plate umpires currently aren't going to like it. The Umpires Association isn't going to like it. But the reality is getting the calls right and not just having it limited to challenges here and there. But every time a ball crosses through the strike zone or around the strike zone, we know if it's a ball or a strike. I don't need the element of human error. Oh, humans deciding the games, human players, human umpires. No, I just want the calls right. And I would prefer to see Major League Baseball, and you see the system there as it was shown during the game on Nesson yesterday. I would prefer to just see the calls get corrected. That we have a consistent strike zone for every hitter in the game. That a call at Aaron Judge's ankles isn't a strike. And you have to worry about making sure you have enough challenges in the bank to use. So that pitch that's, at his lower shin isn't called a strike. And we saw it yesterday. This poor umpire behind home plate is a AAA umpire. We'll talk about it a little later. You had this AAA umpire out there, and he couldn't get a call right to save his life. Now, this guy might wind up being a Major League umpire someday. And trust me, I'm sure there's plenty of them that have been called during this, first few days of spring training from Major League Baseball umpires. And they're not getting them right. And I think it's going to become abundantly clear to everybody just how bad the ball strike rate is from this ABS system. And I know umpires have been getting graded for years now behind the scenes by Major League Baseball on how they call balls and strikes. But I think this system's really going to bring that to the forefront. And I don't think we're that far away from a day where all balls and strikes are called by a computer, called by an invisible grid. Remains to be seen how long it takes before we get to that point. Big story number 2. Last night, Lakers and the Magic, closing seconds. LeBron gets the ball to Luka Doncic. Shoot the three. Oh. Luka, how do you not shoot the 3 in this spot? This is exactly why the Lakers traded for Luka Doncic. Was that moment right there last night. And what happens? Luka doesn't take the 3. Instead, he passes it to LeBron, who's contested, who's got to take some wild turnaround shot, and it goes begging off the iron. That's not on LeBron, by the way. If you're going to say, oh, LeBron choked, that wasn't supposed to be his shot. They set up a play for Luka, and then Luka doesn't take the shot. And I thought LeBron answered the question appropriately after the game when he was asked about it and basically said, I don't know, ask Luka. That was his shot. That was his moment. For a Lakers team that, as LeBron has said, does not look like a title contender. And it's going to be a rough final, 25, 30 games, whatever it is the Lakers have left here in this regular season, taking us to a playoffs where they are unlikely to meet the expectations that you would have set out for this team when it went and traded for Luka, which is going to set up a very interesting offseason for the Lakers, who have said, ownership has said Rob Pelinka is going to remain in place as the man making the decisions on player personnel. But boy, those are going to be some big decisions that have to be made. Kurt Helin will join us coming up in a couple of minutes to talk all things NBA. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do on this Thursday. Thanks for being with us on this Wednesday edition of the show. Some NBA talk. We do it every Wednesday with our good friend Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Check him out there. I'm sure he's got 17 pieces up there because he's like the only guy that writes for them. He's like he's the guy. Right? Right?
I do most of the writing. Yeah, I've got some little help coming, help here and there. There is a team, but I right now do most of the writing. So
you are the team. You are like
James Harden. I am the system.
That's what I want to hear. Thank you. Speaking of James Harden, look, would it shock any of us? And I don't know if the seedings will work out in such a way. If we saw Celtics Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Finals, would it shock any of us right now? I love the trajectory of the Cavs with Harden. I know that sounds crazy to say because it's Harden and we know his history in the postseason. I love what I see from the Celtics. I am not high on the Pistons, and I can't be high on the Knicks after what I saw from them last night on the road in Cleveland.
No, actually, I think here's the thing. All 4 of the teams you mentioned, it's going to be one of the 4 who comes out. I don't think Detroit's totally out of the question. They had a really standout game against this week against the Knicks as well. So, you can make a case for any of those 4. There's also what's crazy is they're all 4 flawed. They're all 4 you can make the case against any of them. And I think Cleveland's weak where you see them have the good game last night, have the beat the pants off the Knicks and look impressive, and then get smoked by the Spurs. Just smoked. And
Spurs are smoking but they've won 9 in a row. Look what they did against Detroit.
I think there's a gap between the top of the West and the top of the East.
Yes.
But in that East, those top 4, I can make the case for any of them, and it's really going to come down to health. It's going to come down to, can the Knicks hit a few shots? But I'm beginning to think, and I think you mentioned this in a short recently, if Tatum's healthy, I might pick the Celtics, or relatively healthy, and can accept his role. That might be the best team to come out of there. And Cleveland, as weird as it sounds, with Harden, it just scares you, right? Because it's not like Cleveland doesn't have a history of playoff mess-ups without LeBron. and then you add James Harden to the mix, that'll solve the problem. So you keep waiting for the bottom to fall out on that. But during the regular season, they've looked great.
I love what Harden has added to that team already, and Kenny Atkinson even says he sees a different belief in this team with Harden there. Again, it's the early honeymoon stage. Everybody's happy. Everything's great. I get it. Go ahead, Sam.
Kurt, you mentioned the Celtics, and we talk about the Cavs, and talked about it last week. Jared Allen continuing to look incredible with James Harden in that system. But with regard to the Celtics, Kurt, this is a team that just continues to win basketball games. Jason Tatum continues to rehab this Achilles, and it looks like he's still getting ready to come back. Where are you at with the Celtics? Obviously, you said that they could contend for the East, but where are you at with them with regard to the entire Jason Tatum situation? When do you expect they could bring him back? Should they bring him back? What does the run-in for him look like going into the playoffs?
Hey, 7 questions in one. That ought to work well. Go ahead, Kurt.
No, with him, I saw them this weekend in LA when they beat the Lakers, and the first thing that hits you is this is just a professional team that knows who it is, knows what they want to do, and executes it like they're a championship team. Even the core of this team, Pritchard and Jaylen Brown and Derek White and on down, they've got rings. They know what it takes. They've been there. I'll say this. Tatum's on the trip. And two things. They don't trade for Vucevic. They don't trade a wing in Anthony Simons for Vucevic at the deadline. And you don't have him playing a bunch of 5-on-5 unless he's there. They're refusing to put a timeline on this. They're saying all the vague things, but their actions are those of a team that expect him back at some point in March. And if he can come in and he's got to accept a role. He is not going to be the man now. He's going to be the number 2 guy to Jaylen Brown. If he can get into that role and thrive, that is just a team that knows how to play basketball right now.
Is there anything real quick, one more on the Celtics, because I want to ask you one about the Knicks. Is there anything that tells you in Jason Tatum's DNA that he will be uncomfortable with taking the role that you describe?
I don't think so. I think part of what's going on in his comments are, man, I don't want to mess up what they're doing. They're rolling. This is a good team right now. Look, if he doesn't come back, if they choose not to have him back this year, which is look, man, if it's close and it's I think we've all been like, if you're not 100%, don't do it. If he doesn't come back, they still got a legitimate, they could win the East without him. They're that good.
That's what I said.
They're legit. They have a legitimate chance. I think he is somebody who understands that and would accept the role. I don't think his ego is, I got to be the man. But if he's the number 2 option, if Jaylen Brown is driving, they get the defense in a blender in rotation, you kick it out to Tatum to ISO or hit the jumper, I think he's willing to take that role.
Yeah, and Peyton Pritchard's been really good too. On the Knicks, is this just a case of a group that is so comfortable in their own skin that they feel like they can get to the postseason and flip a switch? Because at times it feels like that's sort of what this team is, just going through the motions. They know what it takes once they get to the postseason and thinking they can just flip the switch. And how dangerous is that?
Those teams tend to not be able to flip the switch, right? There are exceptions, 2001 Lakers with Shaq and Kobe. There are exceptions to the rule, right? But those teams tend to flame out. And what's frustrating about that team is there are games they look good, and then there are games where they just, the offense isn't quite comfortable. They brought in Mike Brown to change the offense. It was too stagnant or whatever, too much Jaylen Brown pounding the ball, which it was. But Cat's had a couple of better games lately, but is he really comfortable in the offense? Are they really comfortable in the offense? They're so inconsistent right now, which just makes me really worried about them. And they've got to find a way. They're babying him now. Mitchell Robinson's got to play a lot in the playoffs. They need him big time. He is so critical for them.
He really is. He's such a game changer for them on both sides of the ball, really.
Yeah.
Kurt Helin's hanging out with us, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. He's going to hang out with us for one more segment. We'll get into some stuff from the Western Conference. We had a wild finish last night with the Lakers and Magic, and a lot of people asking what's going on here when it comes to Luka and LeBron. The finish to that game certainly leaving a lot to be desired. If you are a Lakers fan, Kurt and I will get into that. Sam's probably got some more questions as well as we continue on this Wednesday edition of Sports Wrap Talking NBA with our guy Kurt Helin. Don't go anywhere. Lots more to do. Come up in 10 minutes, MLB ABS. We talked about it in the big story, and Sam and I will talk about it some more coming up. What would be the equivalent?
Dodgers the title now, just ending it.
What would be the equivalent? Like, what could the NBA do that would be the equivalent of MLB's ABS system, by the way? I'm just thinking about it.
They actually have the Hawkeye technology. They're using more with the tennis technology. They're using more, and they're trying to. What they wanted to do is help make out of bounds calls. Like, did the ball go out of bounds? Who touched it last? It's a little more complex than the tennis system where it's pretty clean, right? Like, here's the line where the ball bounced. But they've got it, and they want to use it more. They're using it on goaltending more this year. Like, they've got the technology. It's just not shown publicly quite the same way.
Interesting. See, Lakers last night and this wild finish with the Orlando Magic, where you got Luka getting the ball in like the typical Luka spot for what looked like an open three to try and win the game, down 110, 109. And he passes the ball to LeBron, who's like, why are you giving this to me? Who takes some crazy turnaround shot that clangs off the rim, and a bad loss for the Lakers at home last night to the Magic.
4-4 on a homestand. That's after their Grammy trip. And split by the All-Star game, but that's not good. That's not good enough. Although, frankly, it's what they are. Their record is, what are they, 10 or 11 games above 500, whatever the actual record is. Most of that's because they're now 16-4 in the clutch. They've just been better with Luka. That last play was bizarre because exactly what you said. I think he said it afterwards. He thought there was a little too much time on the clock. He wanted to hold it a second longer, but you got to take the shot, right? Like, you got to take the good shot when it's there. And it's not LeBron's fault. LeBron got handed a grenade and it was just like, got to throw it up and did his best. But Luka, sometimes he overthinks it a little. He's been more complainy than normal, if I guess is the phrase I'm going to say, with the refs. He's just not in a groove right now. He's kind of frustrated, and he's still putting up numbers. He's probably still top 5 in MVP voting at the end of the year. But especially with this roster, he's got to be better because they don't have the shooting, the margin for error around him to cover this up.
There are so many things going on with the Lakers, Kurt, and this is just going to turn into a Lakers segment.
No!
Because you have this quote that comes out. I don't even know if it was before or after the game, but sometime yesterday. And you and I talked last week about what the ownership change means for the Lakers and how that could change the culture there. But Rob Pelinka is going to stay within his power, and we know the ongoing relationship changes with LeBron James and how they're transitioning to this new era of Laker basketball. But what is the Lakers transition going to look like simply from this year into next year?
That's a really good question because, Rob Pelinka is going to, by all accounts, Rob Pelinka is going to hold on to this job for now. He basically, I get the feeling this is the test. This is the summer. I want to see your vision. I want to see you build out this roster around it. LeBron, look, I don't know anybody in the league who doesn't think he goes to Cleveland in some fashion for a farewell tour. I'll put it this way, and I'm not the only person to say this. I think Zach Lowe said this. That's the most likely outcome, or he retires, are both more likely than he comes back to the Lakers. And the only question with Cleveland is how much can they pay him and how do they make the money work? The Lakers' problem is what they need are a whole bunch of Herb Jones kind of players and a bouncy young center. You might be able to get a bouncy young center. There's kind of a glut of centers on the market. They can probably get one this summer. The most in-demand position, the reason Peterson might still go number 1, despite the concerns, is that elite two-way wing players are just hard to come by. There just aren't many of them. There's 29 teams looking for them, and the Lakers need about 3. And it's just going to be hard to get the kind of guys they need to thrive. The model's there. We saw it when Dallas went to the finals, right? And you had Derek Lively in the middle, and they had shooters surrounding them, and you either got to have Kyrie, or before that it was Brunson. Like you need the secondary shot creator. Reeves can be that guy, but you got to have guys, OG Ananobis of the world. You need those kind of guys around them, and everybody wants them, and the price is through the roof. And I don't know how the Lakers start racking them up, but those are the guys they need.
Talk me off the idea that I think if I don't know what the odds are on it, I don't have it in front of me, that I think the Spurs are going to wind up being the 1 seed in the West. Talk me off that idea.
Why would I talk you off that idea? The only thing that holds them back is that Shea comes back at some point and everybody gets healthy in Oklahoma City and they start winning at a faster pace and you just can't catch them. But
I mean, they're 2 games back and they probably own the tiebreaker already.
They are playing such great basketball, and such great basketball for a young team. They are so poised. Castle does not. I mean, the only question with them is like, are they ready for the gauntlet of the playoffs? But I'm beginning to think more and more that now that I've seen them a couple times, they are kind of ready. That they've got Harrison Barnes, they've got some veterans in the locker room. This is an old organization, but Victor Wembanyama, the way he changes a game when he can get in and play 35 minutes a night, just flips the whole script. And them making the finals and winning it all is not out of the question anymore. It is. Before the season, I thought that would have been too big a leap. I no longer think that's too big a leap. I think that they are one of the 3 teams in the West, along with OKC and a theoretically healthy Denver team that are going to win this thing this year.
Sam, you got anything? Or otherwise, I have one more point on San Antonio.
Go ahead, Jason.
Okay. They dismantled Detroit the other night.
Yes.
On the road in a game where Detroit basically said, we are going to bully and muscle Wemby that whole game. They didn't wither at all in that spot. No. I mean, that one was a real eye opener to me as in if they get to the NBA Finals, they can beat whoever comes out of the East.
Yes, absolutely. And like I said, their maturity is there. Their maturity is there. Their willingness to fight through the physicality. Like, you can be physical. That's the book on Wemby right now. Be physical with him. He still had 11 points and a handful of rebounds and 4 blocks in the fourth, and a couple of blocks that nobody else on the planet makes. Like a couple of those on Cunningham where he's like, I'm going to put the floater over you. Nobody can block this. Okay, well, there's one guy on the planet that can block this shot. By the way, that game was also pointed out the problems in Detroit and why some of us are not as high on them. The lack of shooting and the lack of a secondary creator when you bottle up, 5 of 26 from Cade. Who's the other guy who creates? It can't be Duran. They need that guy.
Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Always appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you next week.
Take care, my man.
Welcome back to the show. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday. I talked about it in the big story. Let's expand upon it now. ABS, man, it is going to change things. I told all of you, 2 challenges, and you lose them or you keep them if you get it right. There's going to be a zillion of them. Going to be a zillion challenges. Guys know where the strike zone is. Players know where the strike zone is. Sam Yarnell hangs out with us on the show, as he does each and every day, and of course did with us with talking with Kurt Helin. So Sam, give me your thoughts here. The one that sticks out from yesterday that got everybody's attention. Poor Mitch Tresiak, AAA umpire, getting his shot at the big show. Get to do a major league game, preseason, spring training, and then 6 out of 7 calls, I think 6 in a row, if I'm not mistaken, go to ABS, and he is shown to be wrong on his calls. And look, this is what we're going to see throughout the season. I know people are going to say, well, he's a AAA umpire. No, we're going to see a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of home plate umpires that are made to look bad by this ABS system, Sam. And I scream 5 years before all the home plate, before all calls, balls and strikes are called by ABS. 5 years? Wow. Over, under? If I give you an over, under, or 4.5, you taking the over or you taking the under?
I'd take the over strictly on the basis that they tried that before they tried this whole thing, right? That was the original implementation of this, and they decided there's no shot that this is going to work, because that actually did take too much time when you had to have every pitch broken down by the machine. When you're limiting it to, 7 pitches throughout the course of a game, and you're adding, be conservative with it or be liberal with it and say 10 seconds per pitch, that's a minute added to the game, minute and 15 seconds. Whereas if you're doing it with every pitch, that's going to elongate the game way, way more.
But AI and technology will improve to the point that gap will not exist. It will.
We are not technology. A tech show. We are certainly not a tech show. Do not confuse us for a tech show. But all of these new revelations about what AI actually is and how much AI is actually contributing to these kinds of things that we associate with AI versus how much it's actually just some underpaid employee in a foreign country who's doing the work for you becomes much more questionable. And I think that is a topic of conversation for some much more tech savvy people than you or I. But my takeaway, Jason, watching this game yesterday between the Red Sox and the Pirates was actually nothing to do with either of the two teams, something to do with one of the rivals of the Red Sox, your beloved New York Yankees. This ABS system may actually save Aaron Boone's job. Like Aaron Boone may never get fired. He may never get ejected again because of this ABS system. If you think back, everything that Aaron Boone has done wrongly, not everything, but most of the things that Aaron Boone has done wrongly over the course of the last, 3 years at least, have been related to calls on balls and strikes and sticking his nose where he probably shouldn't have. He can't do that now, as can so many other managers not do that now. I am very interested to see what the umpire-manager relationship transpires into with the introduction of this newfound technology.
Yeah, I think that is a very fair point. I put up a thing on Sports Wrap Shorts right before spring training saying, what are Aaron Judge's numbers going to be? He might have the most insane season, because he is going to be one of the people that benefits most from this, because it is well documented that he gets screwed on more low strike calls than anybody in baseball, because they cannot figure out where his knees are, apparently behind home plate. He is going to absolutely destroy numbers this year. He's going to have insane. I'm telling you, he's going to hit 60 home runs this year if he's healthy. He plays 150 games. He's going to hit on. He's going to hit 60
the main
home
problem
runs.
with ABS, right? The fact that Aaron Judge is so tall, his strike zone is simply factually bigger than 90%, 95%, 99%. He's that tall of players in Major League Baseball. I am actually very fascinated to see. I think his strikeout numbers could soar this season because his strike zone, Jason, his strike zone is simply bigger than 95+% of Major League hitters. You have a larger target as a Major League pitcher to fit within that strike zone. I don't see how you could expect him to not strike out more solely on the basis of his strike zone is perhaps unfairly bigger than every other player's.
He knows the strike zone so well, though. And I think, and look, if you want to argue, maybe you can beat him with a fastball high in the zone, and that high strike gets called more. Maybe that doesn't typically get called more. Maybe I can buy that argument. But when pitchers are going to have to come up in the zone to where his knees actually are, I think he's going to put up just monster numbers. Real quick, because it also plays into this Pirates-Red Sox game. Connor Griffin is good. If you don't know about this kid, you're going to know about him soon. He had 2 home runs yesterday. This guy's going to be in the lineup for a long time for Pittsburgh when you talk about this Pirates team, Sam.
We can only hope that he cracks the opening day lineup and they don't try to do something funny with service time manipulation. I think either way, he'll probably win the Rookie of the Year. He is the rightful favorite right now at every sports book out there. This is a kid who's been the number one prospect in baseball for almost an entire calendar year at this point, and we're finally starting to see why. It is truly impressive stuff. And I mean, we were just talking about Aaron Judge's size. The size on this kid is absolutely incredible. It's like Matt Holliday playing shortstop.
Yeah, he's a big dude. It's going to be fun to watch him and hopefully give the Pirates fans something to cheer for. Watching us on Sportsnet Pittsburgh, we love you guys. Make sure to stay tuned. We will have Pirates baseball. Hey, Pirates, I sent you an email. Read it. We want to have your players on this show. It's a good idea. Put them on with us. We're coming back. Welcome back. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. Politics and sports mixing together. We'll talk about it. Sam Yarnell. You know the combine is here when you turn to like the pages of all the different sports websites and there's football news everywhere. Everybody's got something to say. Couple of teams that I want to talk about making news as far as their quarterback situations are concerned. Start with the Miami Dolphins. Everybody thinks it's a foregone conclusion Tua Tagovailoa is out with the Miami Dolphins. If you listen to them, though, if you listen to the team, they're basically saying all options are on the table, Sam Yarnell. So, out of all the possible options that are on the table for the Miami Dolphins when it comes to Tua, is the most likely one the one that we all think is the most likely one?
Which is what?
Well, we all think he's not going to be there next year.
Oh, yes. 100% affirmative. Could not agree with that sentiment more, Jason. Yeah, no, but I saw this, right? And you have to think when you see this kind of quote coming out from the organization, all it means is that they're just trying to maximize whatever they can get back for him. They're trying to get a 4th round pick back for him instead of a 5th round pick because, like, let's be honest, that is what he is worth at this point.
You say 4th round? 4th round pick? Is that what you said?
I think, right? Like, it feels like they're trying to get a 4th rounder instead of a 5th rounder for Tua right now. I don't know why. I've had this kind of, I don't know if it's a sinking feeling, but I've had this feeling deep inside of me ever since this whole, I don't know, like there was like 2 weeks left to go in the season and this whole rumbling started that we weren't going to have Tua in Miami anymore and we may not have Kyler Murray in Arizona anymore. I'm starting to think that they're just going to swap quarterbacks.
Wow.
Like I think we could just see Kyler in Miami and Tua in Arizona. That feels like the easiest thing to me. Maybe one of them goes to like Indianapolis to work with Daniel Jones, who the Colts have already said they want to bring back. But Jason, to me, it really just feels like it's going to be a quarterback swap, Kyler for Tua.
That would be look, warm weather, Arizona, you get
closer to Hawaii.
Closer to, yeah. Well, I don't care about that. But I think it's, I mean, it is closer to Hawaii. It's still a zillion hours away, but it is closer, I guess. I think it's a really interesting idea of those two teams swapping, but doesn't that feel like purgatory if you're the Dolphins? I mean, it just. But where are you going? But here's the problem: where are you going if you're Miami?
Nowhere.
There's no quarterback. There's no quarterback you're going to get in this draft that changes your fortune. Like, where are you going if you're the Miami Dolphins in this draft? Kirk Cousins. Like, seriously, honestly, if you're going to do a purgatory move, I'd rather you go do that for a year. Sign him to 2 years. You can get out of it after 1. I mean,
what we're forgetting in all of this is that Miami drafted their quarterback of the future last year in Quinn Ewers. And he actually, to his credit, didn't look horrible when he got playing time at the end of the season. He didn't look awful. I wouldn't be shocked if they just sell on Tua also and then just give the ball to Quinn Ewers and say, hey, go do whatever you can this season and we're going to get a quarterback in the next draft anyway. But it is such a disaster. Like, any way you slice the pie for the Miami Dolphins right now, you are exactly right, Jason. I'll say this on the Cousins thing, though, right? It feels a lot like he's going back to Minnesota at this point. The rumblings just feel like he is going to end up back in Minnesota with J.J. McCarthy. They're going to turn McCarthy into the backup and let Kirk Cousins try to ride it out and teach J.J. McCarthy a thing or two. I don't know what Miami is going to do with every team out there, even the Cardinals, who we're talking about on the other side of this, right? Every team out there has some semblance of a plan except for Miami right now.
The Texans have a plan, and apparently it is still C.J. Stroud, despite him throwing up all over himself, as Sam would like to say, last year or this past postseason, making it clear they think it would be moronic, was the word used by the GM there, to trade C.J. Stroud. However, the one thing you have to read into when you read those comments is he's the quarterback for this year. If he is there this year, this is it. This is going to be the make or break year for C.J. Stroud. Obviously, with the contract situation being what it is, you know, they give him the option for this year, and that's fine, and that's all great. Ultimately, if C.J. Stroud doesn't perform to expectations, and that means actually play well in the postseason, then C.J. Stroud won't be there the year after. But they are making it clear they're going to ride this out for one more year with C.J. Stroud and hope the combination of him and that defense could go a little further than they did this year.
And I'll tell you what, Jason, no matter how you feel about C.J. Stroud, the Texans are in an amazing position. Yes, obviously you pick up the fifth-year option on a quarterback that you drafted in the first round. It's a quarterback. It's the cheapest way to go. It's just good business. It's what you have to do, right? But beyond that, you laid it out perfectly. You go into this year, see what C.J. Stroud can prove. If he does prove something, you can probably get a discount on the extension because of the history that he has. If he doesn't prove anything, this is a team that is way more than equipped to trade up in the draft, in the next draft, and get their quarterback of the future. They are in such a good spot in Houston right now, no matter what happens.
They are, but we also know how quickly championship windows can close. And with this defense, that is a championship caliber defense, can you really afford to throw one more year away when you've seen for 4 years what C.J. Stroud is? It's not like this is a guy that sat behind somebody and all that. This is a guy that's played from day one. You know what he is after 4 years with this organization. So to expect that something dramatic is going to happen, there's going to be some epiphany here, some great change in the way and style in which he plays in terms of protecting the football, which is the most important thing at that position, is something that remains to be seen. We've got odds and ends coming up next. All right, just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Special guest tomorrow on the show, Kyle Troop, PBA Tour star. We'll hang out with us for a couple of segments, get some thoughts with him on the PBA Tour season, which got underway. You can watch the PBA Tour on the CW for a good chunk of this season. You can watch us on many CW affiliates on the weekends around the country as well. Also, the CW has a national channel on YouTube TV. The weekend show airs there. So I thought some good synergy will help out our friends from the CW and promote the PBA Tour. I am an avid bowler, although I am taking this year off. But excited to talk to Kyle Troop on the show tomorrow. Sports Wrap. We've got the podcast version of this show, an audio-only edition that you can listen to. So if you're in the car, you don't have a chance to watch us on TV, you want to just listen to us, maybe our voice does something for you. I don't know. Make sure and go and subscribe to the podcast, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Also, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. This is the place for all things Sports Wrap. Monday through Friday, TV version of the show, available on our YouTube channel. 45 minutes commercial-free, waiting there for you early every afternoon. It's oftentimes there before it's even available anywhere on television. Go and subscribe. Also, there's Sports Wrap Shorts. Sports Wrap Shorts are a terrific way to get the top news of the day, covering the biggest games every night. Knicks get waxed by the Cavaliers last night. Boom, we got a Sports Wrap Short for it. Sports Wrap shorts available on the YouTube channel. Also available on our TikTok, Sports Wrap Jason page, and on our Instagram by the same name, Sports Wrap Jason page. And now, without any further delay, on this Wednesday, it's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell. I'm going to take a different approach than I do when it comes to a lot of things involving today's politics. First of all, look, Kash Patel being in the locker room with Team USA after they win the gold, I'm just not losing much sleep over it. I'm not. And I know everybody's like, oh, he's using American tax dollars to fly around on a plane. Please, if we're going to start talking, if we're going to go into every single political figure in U.S. politics that's a good point. That's doing things on our dime, Kash Patel's probably, and I get it. Point. Everybody does it. So I'm not going crazy just because Kash Patel did it. That's one. Two, they're talking on the phone to Donald Trump and everybody's losing their minds. I'm not losing my minds about this. Does he say some stuff that obviously drives me nuts? And everybody who knows my politics knows I can't stand Trump. Fine. This is not one of those instances, though, where I'm going to lose my mind about something involving Donald Trump. The guy's just won Olympic gold medal for the first time since 1980. Shut up. This is not an instance where we need to put politics in. But here's where I am curious to get your thoughts, Sam. Last night, State of the Union, they bring out the hockey team. It's great. He says he's going to have the women at the White House. I'll believe it when I see it in terms of all the women deciding to show up at the White House for that, by the way, from the women's hockey team. But he announces that he's giving Connor Helin the Congressional Medal of Freedom, which I believe is the highest civilian honor that one could get from the White House. And my first initial thought was, okay, let's look at the athletes in the history of sports that have gotten this, and then say, do we put Connor Helin, who, by the way, I think is the hero of this Olympic Games, with his performance in that gold medal game in particular. Is it Congressional Medal of Freedom worthy? It's kind of like the Seinfeld episode where they ask Elaine, is he sponge worthy? Is it Congressional Medal of Freedom worthy for one game, one moment? I know the sponge thing will get. I don't know. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, Sam. Let you weigh in. Connor Helin, Congressional Medal of Freedom, yes or no?
First of all, Jason, the Today Sponge may be the only thing harder for American civilians to get these days than the Congressional Medal of Freedom. Listen, I feel kind of the same as you about all the other stuff. Yeah. Except for one thing that I'll get into. However, the way that you feel about the whole, they're calling him in the locker room and he's in the, that's how I feel about the Congressional Medal of Freedom. And like, maybe that just speaks to like my age or something, but like, all right, cool, dude, whatever. Connor Helin deserves freaking everything. He deserves to never buy a drink again in any bar from sea to shining sea. Yes. Honestly, whether it's here or in Canada, with everything he's done for the Winnipeg Jets. My thing was about the whole thing, Jason, is this, as a former athlete myself, I'm not going to pretend that I played at any professional level, but I did play sports at a pretty high level for a pretty long time. As an athlete, like, athlete culture is very guarded. Team culture is very guarded. It's very, very, very rare to, I don't know, accept outsiders into that, especially in the wake of something that you and your teammates have been working for, like, literally over a calendar year.
You're talking about the Kash Patel thing. Okay.
Yeah, so, like, I do just think it's just a weird look to have this kid who looks like he's on a Make-A-Wish trip standing in the corner cracking beers with everybody. Like, it so doesn't fit in. It was such a black sheep moment. I just thought it was a bad look for the hockey team from an athlete standpoint. You don't let random outsiders into your group of athletes. It's part of what we, respect about athlete culture.
It's fair. It's fair. I like I said, I'm not losing any sleep over it the way some people did. If you choose to, that is on you. We have freedom of speech in this country. Feel free to express yours. That's going to do it for us. Thank you to Kurt Helin. Thanks to you, Sam. We'll see you all back here on Thursday for another edition of Sports Wrap. Hi there. I'm Jason Page. You like what you're watching? Subscribe. We've got Sports Wrap Shorts on this channel. We've got the show. We've got clips from the show. What else do you have to do? You probably follow a lot of other things that aren't half as they're not half as exciting as this show is. So what are you waiting for? Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, watch the content. Bye.